Ladies and gentlemen, let's get ready to rumble! It's time!
Boom, perfect timing.
Hello and welcome to another episode of No Ducks Given, and today I'm joined by, yet again, Tommy Hull, my co-host, and we're going to be previewing UFC286, Leon Edwards versus Kamaru Usman in London, England. Now, London, England, this is a big event in it for British MMA.
Massive. We've got 11 British fighters on this card, quite a few UFC debutants as well from Britain, so it's an exciting event for Britain, and yeah.
Well, let's talk about some of the fighters that are on the card. You got your likes of Jack Shaw, Mohamed Makayev, that are on the prelims. Who else is on the card?
But Joanne Wood, she's a Scottish flyweight Muay Thai style fighter. She lost the last 3 fights, but they were all against tough opponents in Alexa Grasso, Celia Santos and Lauren Murphy. So there's a chance for her to get back in a winning column. She's fighting Luana Carolina, who was KO'd by Molly McCann in the last fight. We've got Jack Shaw, who's Welsh, who's a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt. He's actually moving up to featherweight from bantamweight due to medical advice, because cutting weight has been pretty bad for him. He does say he feels fitter and stronger, not having to focus on the weight cut.
He's one to watch, by the way.
Yeah, I agree. We've got Lauren Murphy, who's an English flyweight. He's a skillful striker. He's currently 3-1 in the UFC. He has 11 pro MMA wins with no losses. We have Chris Duncan, who's a Scottish lightweight. This is his UFC debut. He's a powerful striker. He won his last fight on the Dana White Contender Series by first round KO after being hurt early in the round. Most of his pro MMA wins have come back via KO. We have Sam Patterson, who is an English lightweight. This is his UFC debut. He won a UFC contract by impressing Dana White on the Contender Series with a dramatic comeback victory. A bit of a fact, his parents signed him up for MMA classes to keep him out of trouble in his childhood. He says he was inspired by movies such as The Kickboxer.
And that's going to be a theme when we go on to the main event as well.
Yeah. We have Mohamed Makayev. He's an English freestyle wrestler and a submission specialist. He's ranked 12th in the flyweight rankings, currently 3-0 in the UFC. We have Christian Duncan, English middleweight. This is his UFC debut. He was the Cage Warriors middleweight champion before signing for the UFC. He's a powerful striker with 5 of his 7 pro MMA wins coming by the way of knockout. We have Jake Hadley, English flyweight. Lost his UFC debut but won his second fight via submission. Fighters who've trained with him believe he has potential to become a UFC champion.
Wow.
We have Casey O'Neill, Scottish flyweight with a kickboxing style. 4-0 in the UFC with knockout, submission and decision victories.
She's brutal.
Yeah,
she is brutal.
She is. She's talented. She can win via all different types of ways.
Very well rounded. She's
undefeated in pro MMA with 9 wins. And finally we have G.A. Herbert, English lightweight, Muay Thai style fighter, also a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt, currently 2-3 in the UFC, so he really needs to win on Saturday night.
Yes, and he suffered some bad KO losses, hasn't he?
Yeah.
Right. We just mentioned how big of a night it is for. It's going to be Team UK, isn't it? Every single Brit is going to want every Brit to win on Saturday night. Right. But the biggest cheer of the night is going to be for this man, Leon Rocky Edwards, UFC welterweight champion, after head kicking Kamaru Usman into the shadow realm in the second fight.
Out of absolutely nowhere in the last round.
Out of nowhere. But the thing is, Leon Edwards should not even be here. He shouldn't be here. He was born in the brutal streets of Kingston, Jamaica. His father was a gang leader, And that was the path. That was the path that Leon Edwards and his brother, his entire family, was going to take that path. But from living in a tiny shed in Kingston with a zinc roof, his mother took it upon herself to help provide her family with a better future. Moving to Birmingham when he was a youngster. But unfortunately, the dark past of the Kingston, Jamaica brutality on the streets, the crime, the gang life, it followed them. And Leon Edwards, he was involved in drug dealing, street fighting, knife possession, and it looked like there was no way out. However, at the age of 17, his mother forced him to join an MMA gym. Look where we are now. Leon is the top of the MMA world, welterweight champion in the UFC. And he's on a 10-fight win streak as well. Since his loss to Kamaru Usman in the first fight, which they fought in 2015, both of them have massively improved since then.
Yeah, well, Edwards' wrestling game has improved a lot.
Yeah.
Takedown defense has improved a lot. And for Usman, striking, we've seen improvement in that.
Yeah.
And it's the first fight now. It was so long ago that it's kind of irrelevant now. I think they both improved that much.
I agree, and it proved in the second fight. We'll get on to discussing the second fight shortly, but we'll go back to Leon's rise to the welterweight title fight. Leon obliterated everybody on his way. Dominating the likes of Vicente Luque, Donald Cowboy Cerrone, who's a legend of the game, and Rafael dos Anjos, which was a really, really good performance. And also Nate Diaz. Remember the infamous moment where Leon pretty much battered him for 24 minutes.
He was in cruise control, and then right at the end, Diaz caught him with punch after a Stockton slap. So,
yes. And instead of chasing him down, what did he do?
He didn't.
He gave him the bird.
Yeah.
And then obviously he also had the moment with Belal Muhammad as well, just before the Diaz fight, where once again Leon Edwards was winning. He was winning.
Yeah.
But the eye poke to Belal Muhammad, obviously he's had a lot to say about that on social media in the past year or so. What are your thoughts on? Was it fair to give Leon Edwards a title shot off the back of a no contest of Belal Muhammad and a win against Nate Diaz, who was unranked?
Well, it was on a very good win streak, wasn't it? So there is an argument that he did deserve it, I think. But win against Diaz at this stage in Diaz's career it's not really impressive, I don't think.
Yeah.
And obviously he did get hurt at the end of that fight as well. So I understand if people did think that he didn't deserve the title fight, for sure.
But obviously it's irrelevant because Leon Edwards did what Leon Edwards came to do. He conquered in Salt Lake City. Yeah, okay, he might have dreamed to have a UFC title shot one day in somewhere, I don't know, a little bit more prestige, like Las Vegas, New York. But it don't matter, because all that matters is he got the belt in Salt Lake City. And there's a big talking point, or there was a big talking point going into the fight about the altitude of Salt Lake City. And Leon Edwards arrived 2 weeks prior to the fight to, acclimatise to the altitude. Bearing in mind, Kamaru Usman trains at high altitude constantly, and he has done for many, many years now under Trevor Whitman in Colorado.
Yeah, that definitely benefited Usman.
Yeah. And it showed as well in the fight. The first round, what were your thoughts on the first round? Because for me, Leon Edwards was really good for the first 5 minutes.
I think he won the first round.
Yeah.
He obviously defended the takedown, and then he took Usman down himself,
Yeah.
and he almost got close to locking in a rear naked choke.
Yeah.
And then he got round ended, so pretty unlucky.
And that the takedown that Leon scored on Usman was the first time Usman has ever been taken down in his UFC career. And he got close. He got close to finishing with a rear naked choke, like Tom just said. And in the second round, it was also a good display for the first half of it.
Yeah, they traded a lot of strikes, didn't they?
Yeah.
First off, and then Usman decided to wrestle, and then he's taken down in the second round. I think
he started taking him down,
yeah.
and
but he got back up quickly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But after the start of the third round, it was like it just became easier for Kamaru Usman to do what he wanted to do, and it was, for me, it was all down to the altitude that he was fighting at, because he's not used to it at all. The altitude of Salt Lake City that they was fighting at was 4,327 feet. Now compared to Leon Edwards' hometown, Birmingham, their highest point is 975 feet. So that's an incredible difference in altitude, and it is no wonder why he just looked lethargic, really.
Yeah.
And he's mentioned it loads of times about him. He was thinking that he wanted, processing what he wanted to do, but he just couldn't get his body to react to his mind. And it looked like Usman was just going to cruise.
Yeah. Well, I thought the fourth round was getting a bit frustrating, wasn't it? Because we wanted to see more engagement from Edwards, more striking. He was kind of standing off him, letting Usman walk him down and close the cage off. And then once he got against the cage, he could land his shots off and then take him down. And a little bit frustrating, man.
Yeah, and the frustration as well was from the corner of Leon Edwards. They was just pushing and trying to motivate Leon to get something, drag something out of him. And in the fifth round, they got the reaction. Yeah. They got the reaction they wanted to see. Talk me through the round 5.
Well, I think in round 5 there came a point where there was a brief period where Usman actually stopped putting pressure on Edwards, stopped trying to walk him down. I think in his mind he maybe thought the fight's won. I just need to not get hit.
Yeah.
But standing off him and planting his feet was his biggest mistake, because that allowed Edwards to compose himself.
Yeah.
And once he's composed himself and he can calculate that shot, it's over.
Yeah.
He landed that big shot and that took Usman out.
The cross head kick. Loads of people, I think Joe Rogan is even titling that as the greatest head kick in UFC history, and it will take something pretty spectacular to beat that or even equal it.
And it was set up really well. There was the right hand feint, which caused Usman to move his head off the centre line, tilt his head to the side, and that just set it up brilliantly. And
and that was, people can say it's not a punch from the gods, a kick from the gods. In a way it was, but it wasn't, because they was drilling that constantly in the gym. The trainers, Team Renegade, they did an unreal job at looking at patterns and capitalising on patterns. And obviously it paid off, because the exact combination that they drilled for hours, days, weeks.
And we saw the footage pre-fight of him in the dressing room practicing that shot.
Yeah.
That exact shot.
Yeah.
He pulled it off.
Yep. And it was. I still now I cannot believe it. It was incredible. I mean, me and you watched it together, and it was.
I mean, it came to a point where I was so frustrated in Edwards not engaging that I was like, I'm just going to turn it off. I'm so mad. And then just out of nowhere, he lands that shot, and we were so happy. It was unbelievable.
And now he's flying the flag for British MMA, not just UFC fighters, people in Bellator, Bama, even the ones on the smaller stages. It's incredible. But Kamaru Usman, now he also migrated. He migrated to the USA in Dallas, Texas, when he was just 8 years old. And Usman, coming into his mixed martial arts career, he had a massive advantage. He competed in the NCAA Division II National Championships, and anybody that's like a big wrestling fan, Americans will know this. Like that basically means he's an elite grappler. And he went on to win bronze in 2008, silver in 2009, and then gold in 2010 at 174-pound weight class. That's pretty impressive. And then he made his pro MMA debut in 2012. But out of absolutely nowhere, in his second fight, he suffered a defeat by a rear naked choke. And obviously up until the Leon Edwards' second fight, you know, he looked great. He could do whatever he wanted to his opponents. He then went into the UFC, and in Usman's second fight in the UFC, he faced Leon Edwards. Little did he know, little did they both know, they'd go on to have a historic trilogy in the UFC welterweight division. In the first fight, Usman won via unanimous decision, but it was evident that he was just far better in the wrestling and grappling department, as we touched on earlier. So it was you can't take anything, you take that with a pinch of salt, really. He also went on to beat Sean Strickland, Damian Maia, a legend of the game, Rafael dos Anjos, and the win against Rafael dos Anjos catapulted him into a position to challenge the then champion, Tyron Woodley, who was, it's funny to talk about Tyron Woodley in this way now.
Yeah, after his boxing fights.
Yeah, and he just got, I'm not sure what happened to him, but then when Usman, got the title shot, Tyron Woodley was a beast.
Yeah, he was one of the best in the UFC at that time, wasn't he? He was dominant.
And he was knocking out people with ferocious explosive strikes. But Kamaru Usman beat Tyron Woodley. And after picking up the welterweight title from Tyron Woodley in 2019, Usman would literally crush every single person in his way. He literally overlapped. He literally lapped the entire welterweight division. That's the crazy thing about it. He beat Colby Covington, Jorge Masvidal, Gilbert Burns, which was a great fight, and Burns buzzed Usman. Remember that fight? He was close to losing that fight. And then he fought Jorge Masvidal again, and then Colby Covington again. Literally in that exact order. That's what happened. But he ran into one man, Leon Rocky Edwards. But one thing that you look at, or that I take from the run of Kamaru Usman, he's improved tremendously in his stand-up, hasn't he?
Yeah, he's become a one-punch knockout artist, really, hasn't he?
Yeah.
And
all thanks to Trevor Winton as well. That man is a genius.
Yeah, and he has an unbelievable chin as well. So Edwards landed that big shot.
Yeah.
But if we go back to the first fight, Edwards had a lot of success in the striking, didn't he? Landed a lot of big shots, and Usman just took him on the chin. But like you said, yeah, he's improved a lot in his striking, and but I still don't think it's any match for Edwards if they do have more of a striking contest in this fight.
Yeah, I agree. And also, the altitude played a big part in the second fight. I was never going to say first fight, because just delete the first fight from memory. The altitude played a big part in the second fight. In the third fight, I think, and I don't know what you think, that in this fight, it's on home turf for Leon Edwards.
Yeah.
The home crowd is going to play a massive part. Will Kamaru Usman be able to handle the pressure of being the away fighter? And not just being the away fighter, but he's the challenger for the first time in years. He's so used to being the champion, the championship mentality.
Yeah, I think it will play a big part. Because, as you said, it's his first fight where he's a challenger for the title. And also, I think, after being knocked out, after feeling probably so comfortable in the second fight, maybe will be a bit paranoid, because he knows that he can be as comfortable as anything, but if he stands in front of Leon Edwards, that shot could come in at any time and knock him out, as happened in the second fight. And yeah, there's a lot of stuff for Usman to handle mentally, I think, coming into this fight.
I agree, and even if this wasn't on a way soil for him, I think it would be. Let's just say it was in Abu Dhabi. I think it would still be a very hard fight for him, because he's coming straight back into the octagon with Leon Edwards, the man that just knocked him out previously. He's not had much time to. Well, he has had time to process it, but has he cleared the cobwebs, so to speak? Has he erased that from his mind? Or will he keep that in his mind? Which could be a good idea, good thing or a bad thing. So he's constantly alert to the feints of Leon Edwards. Because Leon Edwards, in the second fight, and in all of Leon Edwards' fights, he's a really good kickboxer. He feints, he level changes, he loves to get his opponents to buy. In the second fight, I noticed a pattern. In orthodox position, when Leonardo is in orthodox, he loves to throw side kicks to Kamaru Usman's legs. And then as soon as he switches to southpaw, it's almost like an automatic thing that's in his head. He must drill this constantly. He always feints the back leg. He twitches it, changes levels. And that's exactly how he knocked out Usman in the second fight.
Yeah.
That could be something that he looks to do again in the third fight. But something that has been playing on my mind, and this would be crazy. Every single person is expecting Leon Edwards to strike because he just scored a ridiculous knockout against him. Every single person is expecting Usman to wrestle, jab his way to force Edwards back to the cage, so then he can grip him up against the cage. What if Leon Edwards shoots first? What if he shoots first on him?
It's an interesting thought, isn't it? How would that affect Usman mentally if Edwards does shoot first and ends up taking him down? Because I don't think Usman would expect him to do that, for sure.
Yeah.
And
I don't think anybody would. I think if that happened, everybody would be oh my god.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah.
But I think for Usman, I think his game plan will be the same as the second fight. Just try and close the cage off, back him up against the cage and land shots and try and take him down. Because what can he try different, really?
That's it. He's already played his hand, so to speak.
Yeah.
In the second fight. Can he have a better performance than that against Leon Edwards? I think it would be very, very difficult. The only way he could improve on that performance
is not make the mistake at the end.
Yeah.
Where he maybe got a bit complacent.
Yeah. And I think as well, it's easy to say this now, but now that they are both so even. In the first fight it was like a mismatch because of Usman's wrestling. the second fight was so even though Usman was, dominating. He wasn't. Edwards was never like,
hurt.
He was never hurt. He was never in over his head.
And
He was never panicking.
Constantly getting back to his feet as well.
Yeah.
Every time Usman took him down. In the first 2 rounds, anyway.
Yeah.
After the second round, I thought Usman got a bit more comfortable. Keeping him down.
And that was just the altitude and stamina issue. I think he definitely will not. If I was to put money on it, will he gas? Will he not? I don't think he will. Have you seen the shape that Leonard was in for this?
Yeah, he's in the best shape of his life, isn't he? Absolutely ripped.
He looks like an animal. He just looks like a straight up killer, and he's going into the octagon to wipe him out, Hitman style headshot again.
Yeah, this is what he needs to do in this fight. He needs to actually put the pressure on Usman. Don't let him force him back against the cage. Throw more shots, be more active, and give Usman something to think about.
We'll talk about the key stats, the strikes landed per minute for the two. Leon Edwards has 2.59 strikes landed per minute. Usman has 4.55. The strike accuracy, Usman is actually slightly better. Leon is 50%, Usman is 53%. The strikes absorbed per minute, Leon 2.28, Usman slightly worse at 2.56. The defense of strike defense, Usman slightly better, 57%, Leon 53%. But the grappling, takedowns average per minute for Leon Edwards is 1.39, Usman is just over 3. The accuracy Usman has, as you'd expect, being an NCAA wrestler, 48% for Usman, Leon 33%. The takedown defense, Usman 97%, Leon 68%. But remember, Leon is the first person to take him down. And submission average per minute, although he's a big wrestler, Leon Usman, Kamaru Usman, he only average per minute with 0.1 submission attempt, whereas Leon Edwards is 0.4. I think the jiu-jitsu of Leon Edwards is better than Usman.
I agree. I mean, Usman, he just wants to take people down and just keep control of them, doesn't he? He doesn't really want to lock in a submission. He just wants to grind out the victory, keeping them down.
He wants to get the, just pressure in the face and the chin, using the shoulder pressure. Whereas like Leon will try to, when he's on the bottom, we've seen it in the second fight. When Leon's on the bottom, he will try to.
He took his back.
Yeah. He'll try to do something. He'll try to make something happen. Usman doesn't really do that. He just wants to lay there, heavy pressure, a few strikes. Yeah. And I think the team of Leon Edwards will be more equipped. I think I mentioned earlier about Kamaru Usman showing his best hand in the second fight, and I think that's actually going to play into Leon Edwards' advantage, because I think Leon Edwards, he can only improve on that performance. He's now got confidence, he's just through the roof. Usman's confidence, we don't know where that's at.
No.
We're just guessing.
Maybe he will actually be confident because of how much control he had up until that knockout from round 3 to 5. Maybe it wouldn't have knocked his confidence that much. So who knows, really?
Yeah. Are we going to give our prediction for the main event at UFC286?
I'm going to go with Leon Edwards. Maybe a little bit biased, but I do think if he does put the pressure on Usman, he can break him down and land that knockout strike or win a decision.
I'm going to go with Leon Edwards as well, because I just think that Leon Edwards can only improve from here. Kamaru Usman, I think in order for him to be the champion, he will have to replicate the performance that he had in the second fight. And I think partly no, like, not to take anything away from Kamaru Usman's performance in the second fight, but the reason for most of his success, especially later on round 3, 4, and even early on in 5, I think was down to the stamina. And I think that's going to be a problem all for Leon Edwards in this fight. I think Leon Edwards, it's hard to see him knock out Kamaru Usman again, but I think he could do that. Maybe from close range, maybe from the clinch with some elbow, or just cause some serious damage from elbows in the clinch. But I'm just going with Leon Edwards win.
I think the feints will be a big thing as well, because if Leon feints a lot and Usman flinches a lot, that could set up a big shot for him.
Yeah, if he sees that image of Kamaru Usman kind of like flinching, dropping his hands,
moving his head off the centre line,
moving his head off the centre line, he's gonna put something together, whether a combo or just a single shot out of nothing via the feint setup. Looking forward to it.
Me too.
But the co-main event is what could steal the limelight. This is fight of the night, isn't it? Potential fight of the night.
Essentially. I mean, both great strikers, both accurate strikers. Gaethje averages 7.5 significant strikes per minute, and Fiziev averages 5. With Fiziev, I think he sets up his knockout so well. I mean, his footwork is great. He's
very fast.
Yeah, very fast.
Very fast, very accurate.
Yeah. I think Gaethje's more of a counter puncher.
Yeah, an explosive counter puncher, I'd say.
Yeah. But I think with Fiziev, I think a weakness is maybe that he often moves his head off the centre line, because he's a Muay Thai fighter. And that's often a bit of a trait for a Muay Thai fighter, I think.
Yeah.
And that's where I think Gaethje could land some counter shots on him and maybe cause a bit of damage.
I think, for me, in the first round, it's going to be Fiziev, I think. I think it's going to be maybe the best round that Fiziev will have in terms of output, damage. Unless, of course, Justin Gaethje pulls out his wrestling credentials, which we've never seen before in MMA. Why? Why does he not use his elite wrestling?
Yeah, I mean, he's a D1 wrestler, isn't he?
Yeah. He loves striking that much. He loves to hit people in the face that much.
I think the thing with Gaethje is, even if Fiziev is having success, I think maybe he'll want to go out on his shield and stay standing rather than take him down. But for me in this fight, if I'm Gaethje, I'd be thinking about taking him down.
I would.
Because I don't think Fiziev has much of a submission game. We've not really seen it, so it's hard to tell. But yeah, I think if there's a time for Gaethje to show his wrestling game, it's now.
And if they get into a striking battle, especially in the first round, I think Fiziev's going to win that. And
yeah.
You spoke about with Justin Gaethje looking to counter strike. I think he'll look to counter strike off of Fiziev's kicks. He creates some weird, insane angles to throw his kicks, which is kind of what pretty much most elite Muay Thai fighters do. But he's got a wicked left hook, Fiziev.
Yeah.
But Justin Gaethje has as well. If they trade left hook for left hook, fireworks.
I mean, it's similar with Fiziev. It's like similar to Pereira, where there's a really upright stance.
Yeah.
When you have a really upright stance, that left hook is always on.
Yeah.
And that's where it's dangerous.
And you mentioned also about Fiziev having his head off.
Keeps it on the centre line.
Keeps his head on the centre line. What Justin Gaethje does a lot of the time in his fights, he'll move his head off the centre line, but he'll keep, sometimes this is what happens, he'll keep his right hand or his left hand and he'll keep it there on the centre line, so he's moving his head a bit like the Leon versus Usman second fight, where Usman slipped the shot but kept his hands like here because he was expecting the shot, the strike up the middle, but it came on the side and knocked him out. That's what Justin Gaethje does. Justin Gaethje does that kind of same slip every now and then and leaves his hands here, leaving his chin and head exposed. Maybe Fiziev could knock him out via something similar, like Leon Edwards.
Yeah, I mean, Fiziev is so accurate and fast that any mistake from Gaethje is just going to get knocked out, isn't it?
And yeah, coming into the UFC, Rafael Fiziev, he was like well known for having like some insane back leg attacks, like spinning side kicks or like wheel kicks. He's got some knockouts like that on his record. But remember, in his UFC debut, he actually got knocked out via a technique that he like pretty much made his own, which, you know, people like started doubting whether the hype was real in Fiziev. But obviously, it's kind of hard on your UFC debut to demonstrate what you have done in like your Muay Thai career or like your career before the UFC. Nerves can get to you, but he's proven his elite striking credentials time and time again. But the thing for me that stands out in Rafael Fiziev's last few fights, he's fought guys with really good strikes landed per minute. You look at Renato Moicano, he had almost 5 strikes landed per minute, significant strikes landed per minute. He fought Bobby Green, who had 5.99 significant strikes landed per minute. Brad Riddell, nearly 5 strikes landed per minute. Rafael dos Anjos, 3.5 strikes landed per minute. Those are really good outputs. But when you compare that to Justin Gaethje, and I think this could be something that might win Justin Gaethje the fight, his strikes landed per minute crushes all of Fiziev's recent opponents. 7.46 significant strikes landed per minute.
And I actually remember the Moicano fight. He got tagged quite a lot, didn't he? Was it a first round KO though? He landed at the end of the first round?
Yeah, left hook, I think, wasn't it?
Yeah, but before that, he was getting tagged a lot.
Yeah.
And going back to what I said, he often just doesn't move his head off the centre line. And that just leaves him open for counter shots. And against a guy like Gaethje, if you keep getting tagged with counter shots, it's going to inflict a lot of damage.
For me, this should have been a 5-round fight.
Yeah, I agree.
And I think if it was a 5-round fight, I'd probably edge to Justin Gaethje, because I think once Fiziev starts slowing down a little bit in like the end of the second and the third round, I think round 4 and round 5 could have been Justin Gaethje, and I think maybe we'll actually see something similar along the lines of Fiziev wins round 1. Gaethje might win round, if it does, obviously if nobody gets knocked out. Fiziev wins round 1, Gaethje might win 2, or it might be close. Gaethje might win round 3, and he could have been looking like he was warming up.
Yeah.
Into like getting into his peak.
But because it's 3 rounds, this is going to mean Gaethje's got to engage more.
Yeah.
Throughout the fight.
He has to. I think he has to pressure it. He can't afford to kind of just stand there in the pocket or just wait for Fiziev to attack, in my opinion.
And as I was saying, if he is getting tagged a lot, I think he does have to resort to wrestling. Otherwise, it'd be disappointing if he does decide to not try something different if he doesn't have any success in the fight.
What's your prediction? Are you willing to give a prediction for this one?
Yeah, I'm going to go with Fiziev. I think just his power and his speed, I think he will land something big, knock him out. And I really can't, to be honest, see Gaethje resorting to wrestling.
Yeah.
I think he's a bit too stubborn. I think he'd rather just stand and go out on his feet.
Yeah. I'm really torn because I can see Gaethje surprising everybody and using his wrestling. Because I just think Trevor Whitman is his coach. Trevor Whitman is a really good coach. He's one of the smartest guys in MMA. Surely he's been telling Gaethje to use your wrestling because you've got it.
Yeah, you'd think so, yeah.
But if he doesn't, I think if he does use his wrestling, Gaethje wins.
I agree.
If he doesn't, I think Fiziev might win via KO TKO in round 2. That's my prediction. Anything else you'd like to add?
No, I think we've covered it.
That's it. A big event for British MMA. UFC286, London, England. I've been your host, Jake Stanley, and this has been my co-host, Tommy Hall. Thanks for watching another episode of No Ducks Given.
Referee steps in and calls a halt to the contest.
Oh, Jesus!